Welcome to Nycos. This is Jonathan Albin and Game Master J, which is me. And this is NycosRPG's Nycos Nightly News. And so tonight we are going to bring you a couple of stories about the world of Nycos, what's going on there. And each of these stories is coming from one of the city states on this map. Some of them are large, some of them are small, most of them, well, all of them are notable. So today we're going to be going to a particularly devious city in the country known as of Tenerife. It's a city over here on the coast, and this is the capital of fundamentally the majority of the world's organized crime can tie itself back here through the guild families that still sort of uh, run things from the shadows, so to speak. They have tendrils that are in almost every other operational city. Whether or not all families are represented depends on how the wars that they have with each other are going. And their running street war has been going on for roughly 350 years, this iteration, and it has gotten rather rough with several of the families withdrawing from Tenerife itself. So we're going to do our stories there, and then our second part of the stories will be held in um, the Grith Wall, which is the mountain range right here. So both these stories are affiliating with operation of current games groups. So if you are one of my players and you want a secret resource that can give you some insight into what's going on around you, uh, come and take a listen. And those of you that have not yet played, if you are interested, I do run live games at Board Game Paradise in Redlands, California. Today was their third anniversary. It's hard to believe that stores has uh, taken root and blossomed so much in the city of Redlands. But Rich Matney and his wife Tracy run the place, and they do just a great job. So let's get to it, shall we? Alrighty, welcome to Tenerife. This is Jonathan Albin again, and 9 news nuggets you need to know about the active operations of Tenerife, the financial heart of commerce. All right, the city's been in heavy trading recently due to several large issues that are going on globally that have only started to influence the operation in the city here. And that includes, for the beginning portion, the possible growing conflict in the Swarthier Plains and around the city of Slumber and other environments there. And these markets have stabilized rather surprisingly, literally on the basis of several reports that have come in from the guilds in the nearby city of Draconia. We'll get more to that at a little bit later time. But this has led, therefore, the Abasa family to demand an immediate consortium. Whenever the markets become stable is a bad sign because it means that conflict within the families are about to start. A chaotic marketplace means everybody's making a little bit of money speculating up and down. But when the markets go flat, it means that everybody's starting to tighten up and bring their money into their direct control. This demand for the immediate consortium is troubling only because whenever you demand anything in the city of Tenerife, somebody is going to be paying for that demand in short order. And so we anticipate another flare of the street wars going on here. An interesting side note is that the Jagala family and the Athira family, who are not known to be direct allies, have now been implicated in the recent activities of visiting nobles We still haven't got a clear image of who these nobles are, but we have determined that they are from one of the northern kingdoms and possibly one of the middle kingdoms. This itself is troubling because generally those more staid and dedicated and stable governments almost always bow out of anything that might be uh, being triggered by the families. And so the the fact that the Athera in particular, who are quite insular and tend to be stable, are very concerned with this development. Um, the monorail governmental system operated, of course, under the uh, compacts of the last iteration, have been now officially cleared of any wrongdoing concerning the street altercation of several days ago. They were able to, by developing some uh, video, if you will, some mental images that we were able to practice psychometry on the ground, and the area was able to verify that the altercation did indeed include our two, uh, our three foreign dignitaries slash nobles, but that these were not specifically a attack from one of the families. It was simply a small business matter that would cause the confusion. So everything's been cleared for the monorail, and so it is back at full operational capacity. The Mir envoy, who anticipated arriving last month, has failed to arrive, and that leads to concern that perhaps the vessel was sunk on its way here. And so a couple of the Tenerife uh, local vessels have embarked to go try to begin search efforts for that vessel and its uh, crew and cargo. Cracksville Library, the local community library, has been approved for access to all citizenry. It has been determined that there are no attempts at mass uh, executions utilizing poisons or anything on the book covers, and the organization has taken close to 100 years to establish this library's safety, and therefore a combined force of the city guard, which are very rarely actually uh, made visible, have taken up positions around the library to ensure that all transition to and from the facility are also safe for visitors. The weatherman did issue that troubling report, and the latest on that report does say that it suggests that there is going to be uh, perhaps a cascade or a series of conflicts that will mean one or more family may be driven to the edge of elimination. And this is troubling because generally the families have a balance to their approach, but there is whispers that the conversation included a rather dark and dire prophecy or uh, message that there may be the return to vendetta, and that could be a bad situation. So we will keep you apprised of that. And we did mention last time that the Raven Imports officials had been cleared of all charges. Indeed, at this point, Raven Imports has countersued, and they are actually drawing this to not the courts of Tenerife, but to the High Court in Corcoran. And this is, again, a major issue because their implications will be going against the nation of Tenerife, which means directly engaging with the families as a whole. This could be problematic. And finally, the our discussion earlier that we had about Jagala and Athira has been brought to the attention of several other families. And while we don't have any names on who they are, this curiosity and concern may be uh, leaning towards creating a crisis in the zone in the near future. So keep your eyes open for that. Alrighty, as we go back before we start our second story, I do want to remind you that Nycos Nightly News is on every night at 11 p.m. Pacific time, and that you are more than welcome to become part of our community. We have an account at patreon.com/Nycos, wherein you gain a voice in the world of Nycos. Your citizenship is assured. You receive a document about that, and you're actually then able to communicate with us through our Discord, and there's more information about that at patreon.com. All right, so now we're going to go to our second story, which, as I said, was in the Grithwall. So let's zoom our pointer over to the Grithwall and our story so far. All right, so this is a report coming from Grithwall. Our story includes an update on the Habilitatus renovation, as it has been approved by the Grithwall government itself, and this new renovation is going to be basically a museum like process for allowing mortals and others to visit and uh, consider and grieve over the occurrences that occurred more than 3,000 years ago at the Habilitatus site. There will be tours, including rides on the Spirit Wagon and conversations with several of the old ones who do still stand alongside the structure and do still respond periodically to questions. So that will be a sight and experience for anybody that wants to know more about that rather dark period in the grim histories. There was a explosion recently in the Brissom Research Lab. This had to do with a seeming change in the, I guess you would call the uh, biomechanical connection between black powder and other forms of magical resource. And because of that, the scientists at the lab have been put on quarantine. They're not very much in forms of details have come out of that, but it does seem to suggest rather dire consequences. The Mind Delvers have made their first excursion into the delving deeps since first time since the seventh iteration, and this has been somewhat underplayed because this is a cooperative effort between the Grund and the Grim, and it's one of the first times that they've worked as a combined species endeavor. The Emperor has ordered an Undran envoy detained in association with those explosions at the Brissom Research Lab, and this may be calling for a change in the relationship between the Grim and the Undran. We will, of course, keep you informed with that. Also, the conflict that occurred at the lab has also caused the Emperor to establish new laws that restrict under sky access to the Everdark visitors that are normally uh, here in the city. And the Grim Ambassador's mission has embarked into the Everdark, ostensibly to ease the tensions between the two. Simultaneously, the Splinter Shield Access Fortress has also opened on the southern face of the Grith Wall, very near to the Farthville city of Abigail, and so there may be potential interactions that will arise from that may have implications for personnel in that quadrant. Um, the Jubilethans have indeed set the date for their meeting with Torg Eric, and so there may be an opportunity for the Grim to be able to establish a more solid connection with the Undersky through the Jubilethans. And Eric Kuros' speech incites some forms of nationalism as he is calling for the possible expulsion of certain of the Grund who have been in the city. Although Eric Kuros is known for being less than hospitable to the outsiders, nonetheless, he's very keen on developing the Splinter Shield facility, and we will see how that will bear out. Alrighty, well, this has been the Nycos news, and we will continue, of course, to bring you updates on the comings and goings across the continents. And thank you again for your viewership. We will see you at the next episode. Remember, we're here every night at 11 p.m. And if there's any questions or comments you'd like to make, feel free to leave them either in the comment section or in the chat box during the episodes. I'll be glad to respond to them. I'm Jonathan.